All right, all right. We are back in beautiful Belmont, New Jersey for another episode of Grit Won't Quit. We have a very special guest on this morning. We have Ange from All In. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming in. You found it all right?
I found it all right.
You got here in between Joe's Bagels and Coney, and you made it.
Yep.
So, let's get into it. So, All In. Let's hear about what got you started, what you did prior, where this is going, and kind of some of the ups and downs of the business.
Okay.
The grit.
Yeah, grit's one of my favorite words.
All right.
I can tell you where that comes from too. So I was a teacher and a coach at Monmouth Regional High School for about 23 years, and just decided like I kind of was done with the everyday of the hustle of being a teacher and a coach, and I quit my job with the intention that I was going to open up a cafe.
What kind of cafe were you thinking about?
It was Healthy Food Cafe.
Healthy Food Cafe. Where, did you know where you wanted to
Yeah,
go?
it was in West End. My sister was working there at the time, and I had an opportunity to have someone be like, why don't you open this and I'll invest in it with you? And I was like, okay, let me see if I even like it, you know, at first. And so I dove into what the restaurant space looked like behind the scenes. And
Crazy.
it's
place.
crazy. Yeah, I thought I was going to go in there and serve people healthy food and have conversations with people about life. And no, just a bunch of DoorDash drivers coming up and being like, where's my food? And yeah, no connection there. So it didn't do it for me.
You know, outside here, especially now in August, we have the DoorDashers that hang out here waiting for all the restaurants because you have 10th, you have Hogitos, you have the Joe's Bagels. So, like, they just kind of hang out.
But they come in and there was no connection. So I was
Yeah.
like, and at the time, too, my family owned Strello's Lighthouse.
Oh.
So growing up, I worked at the Long Branch location, and then when I moved down here, I ran the Point Pleasant location. So that was always the backup plan. If maybe I'll buy the Point Pleasant location. So I was like, okay, not going to buy the cafe. Now I'm going to tap into buying.
So we're going from healthy food
to ice cream.
to ice cream.
Yep, to the family ice cream business. Yeah. And so I was like, okay, but in the meantime, now this was August. I was closing down the Point Pleasant location, and I was like, what am I going to do the rest of the time till the ice cream location starts, you know?
Yeah.
So I played pickleball, and
You a good player?
I was decent, but the older people kind of pushed me off the circuit because they're very serious, the older pickleball players. I was going in there as just a natural athlete, and they weren't having it. They wanted to know what rating I was, the whole thing. So, that was short-lived as well. It was the first fall I've never coached, and I was struggling with that. And so I talked to a friend of mine, and I was like, she said to me, what do you want to do if money wasn't an issue? I said, I actually want to open up a T-shirt company. She was like, excuse me? And I was like, yeah, I want to open a T-shirt company. So we went for a trip to Colorado, and we started talking about what it would be. And I'm big on motivational sayings, grit being my favorite word. When I was a coach, one of my traditions was to have a powerful word on the front and then our name of our team on the back. And it was for 18 seasons we had that shirt, like whatever it was, and every senior class picked it. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to do something like that. And I was like, but we have to call the business something. And like, it's always been that I am an all-in person. Like, whatever I do, I go 1,000 miles an hour. So I was like, I love the word all in. So let's call it All In, apparel company. So because I am all in, I quickly opened up an apparel company. From October till January, we launched. We had an awesome website. My business partner was a graphic designer. She actually played for me back in when I first started coaching. She had a full-time job at the time, so she was kind of like tapping into it with me. And it quickly became something where I was able to speak. I love speaking in front of people. I love.
You're pretty natural.
Yeah,
like I feel like I'm not gonna have to do much work today,
yeah, like
which is good. It's Friday morning.
Whatever. I love to hear myself talk. Through all the banquets I had, the year prior to this, my grandparents had passed away, and I did their eulogy. And when I was up there, I was like, I kind of like this. Like, this is, how do I just lose the most important people in my life, but know the message is bigger? And so that hit me. So I started talking at schools. And then all of a sudden, this all-in apparel company had a bigger mission. And it was teaching this space of athletes and coaches and parents and leaders to go all in. But that going all in didn't just mean you go 1,000 miles an hour. because what ended up happening was is I went 1,000 miles an hour and trying to prove to everybody that I was a success after leaving teaching, I ended up really mentally not well. And so I had to take a step back.
Okay.
And I had to really look at what I was doing and the direction I wanted to go. And then, like I told you before, I was going to open up the ice cream business. And because I fell so in love with this, I was like, I'm not going to do the ice cream business. So All In transitioned at that point to All In as a nonprofit. So I'm like, I'm going to try a nonprofit route. It's going to be called All In Athletes, the nonprofit. I'm going to raise money, and I'm going to be able to go into schools and help along the lines of mindset, resilience, grit, leadership. And so that fall, last fall, I started coaching again, and I was doing this nonprofit. And I give people that run nonprofits a lot of credit because it is one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life.
I have a foundation, I understand.
Yeah, it's really hard. And for me, this was going to be my career. And so I learned that I can give money away and help, but I also can run a business, And so having to make another tough pivot for me because people were like, oh, is All In a t-shirt company? Is All In a nonprofit? I was like, do I make another pivot, or do I follow my gut, or do I just worry about what people are saying? Because I'm trying to find myself in this, and I've talked to a lot of business owners and even heard some people on your podcast talk about how, like, growing a business, you're also growing as a person, and you are taking some big risks. And so I was
It's hard.
It's hard.
I said it to him the other day when we did a video for our franchise system. I said, it's hard being a business owner. It's not an easy task.
Yeah, especially when, as a teacher, you show up, you clock in at 7:30, you clock out. They give you a list of responsibilities. You get a paycheck every 2 weeks, and you don't have to hustle all the time.
No, you're in the classroom. As long as you don't have kids that are screaming at you, and even if you do, you still get that paycheck every 2 weeks, no matter what happens.
Exactly.
And the direct deposit hits.
It hits. And so I was like, I got to think, long term. I have a really great mentor. I mean, I'm sure you've heard of Rick Coffey. Yeah, so Holly Migliaccio, we played field hockey together growing up. And she watched this journey with me. She was the first person I called when I said I was quitting teaching. And she was like, you could do this. She's like, there's something bigger for you. You've always itched. And I'm like, I know, I'm going to scratch it. I scratched it a lot of times, boss. I scratched it a lot of times. And then finally I was like, the nonprofit thing, we're going to put it on hold, and I'm going to change All In to a personal and professional development company. And since January, I have been uber focused on what that looks like.
January 2025.
January of 2025. Yep.
So in those 3 years, there's been a lot of things that have happened. Like from when you left teaching in 22 to right now, 3 years later, there's a lot that's gone on.
A lot. Yeah. I wrote a book.
Oh, wow.
I wrote a book, Rise Up and Soar Above the Storms. I did a TED Talk. Yep. I dove into doing that kind of work and just trying to figure out what I like in the personal, and professional development space. And now it's just really like All In being more of a movement. We call it the Personal and Professional Development Company, but I like it as a movement. I do coaching programs. I'm like a personal mindset coach for athlete coaches and parents. And so the big message in athletics with that is I think now in 2025, we have to have everybody on the same page. And if the coach isn't on the same page with the parents, then the kid kind of feels like that divorced kid. They got to go pulled between the two. And so I do a lot of workshops around culture and what that looks like along communication. And growing a business, I wanted to have this big, huge umbrella. And I wanted to affect everybody. I wanted to be in corporate. I wanted to go and speak on stages like Mel Robbins, my favorite human ever. I wanted to do all these things until finally, through enough mentorship and watching enough podcasts, reading enough books, I was like, I belong in the athletic space. That's your
jam.
That's my jam. And maybe one day, you go into the corporate space and I get into trainings, but I had to hone in. I had to find the niche. And when I did, I was like, wow, this actually makes sense. Now I get it. Now I get it. I love it. And it's just, you can't be everything to everybody. You have to be something to somebody.
Yeah.
And so,
and reaching those young athletes.
Yeah.
You could change their lives.
Exactly. And once that happened, I really believe in a magnet energy. I have a strong faith. I stepped away from coaching. like I said, and then I got back into it. I was a volunteer last year at Sure Regional, big time program where I played, and I was going to give it up again. And then, so funny that I'm on this podcast and how the world works, but St. Rose High School was looking for a head field hockey coach. My shirt.
They're neighbors.
They're
Our
neighbors.
neighbors.
How crazy,
That's
right?
crazy. We could walk there right now and come back and still be on the podcast in 2 minutes.
100%.
They're so close. I was
So
going
close.
to bring up St. Rose, but
Yeah.
there you are. You beat me to it.
Yeah. So what happened was through All In, I created an ambassador program that I work with high school athletes who want to use their platform for good. And a couple of my ambassadors were St. Rose athletes. And so they reached out to me at the beginning of summer and said, Ange, we know we don't have a coach. And I was like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm really busy. I don't think I can tackle this. Not at the time, I was still trying to be everybody to everybody. And so 3 weeks ago, I went off social media for a little bit to hone back in, and first day back on social media, I see a posting for the St. Rose coach still. So I called the athletic director over there, Julie. It was great, and I was like, "Listen, let's talk about this position and what it looks like." And so we sat down, and I said, if I'm going to get into it, this is the way I want to do it, you know. And she was like, "Listen, no problem.
You tell me what you
want,
Let's
and that's
go.
it."
Let's
And
go.
so. And that was that.
She wants Ange on the
yeah,
team.
all in Ange. She's gonna let it go. And so that's been one of the best decisions I've made because it just aligns with everything I'm doing.
Great.
I still have the opportunity to work during the day in schools. I do character education at St. Jerome's, K through 8. I'm able to do personal coaching and group coaching at night. And so I have my own space to kind of prove what I'm doing is working and start again and back into coaching.
That's great.
Yeah, so it's crazy, right around the corner. I was here to sign the papers 3 weeks ago, and I walked right down here, left and went to the brewery, and this time I went over here.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah.
So that's so cool. That's
Yeah.
really cool that you're doing that. And again, it gives you the opportunity to continue to grow and hone in on your business while still being able to handle that project.
Yeah. I definitely made the most sense to me. They give me an opportunity to use their fields. I don't know if you've ever been to St. Rose's fields, but they're out on Hurley Pond Road.
Okay.
They have a beautiful facility.
Okay.
So I do all in camps. So now I have an opportunity,
to use those
fields. So it goes with the new business plan that I started to see myself moving forward with.
That's great. So now, do you miss the teaching aspect?
No, because I teach every day.
Okay.
And that's what I love being a teacher. I did not like the X's and O's of being a teacher.
Yeah.
I was a science teacher, and I was like, all I ever wanted to do was look at a kid and be like, you're never going to use this. And I couldn't, right? And I was always good with the hard kids. I was always good with being a comforting space for my students. I'm warm, welcoming, there was so much more to me than teaching. And to be honest, the toxic environment that gets created amongst teachers in that space was getting out of hand because teachers were so burnt out that I didn't feel like the positivity that I try to represent, the change, the hard work was just welcomed enough. I was just yeah, maybe I need to leave because, first of all, I'm not that great at it, and I should be. If I have to hand in lesson plans, you hand in lesson plans. But I didn't want to, and it's just not working out. So, yeah. So I'm still teaching every day. I am.
But now you're doing it on your terms.
On my terms. I'll never not be an educator and a coach.
Yep.
100%.
And now how do you feel about this being on your own? And because
it's scary.
Yeah.
I really missed community. When I first left teaching, I thought I really missed it, and I had to let myself feel that. Because now I was in charge of building my own community. And when you first start out in business, you don't have the means to hire people right away to create a team. So what I did, because what I know best, is I sort of created this ambassador program to create this team around me, which were athletes. And I brought in coaches, and I was like, okay, let me create this community. But like I was saying before, when something came along and somebody was like, oh, hey, let's partner, I was like, yeah, let's partner, because I miss having that person. Because when my business partner and I went separate ways after the T-shirt company, I missed having somebody to bounce things off of, because I'm not a dictator. It's all about me. So that's why these partnerships looked really great, and then they ended up not being great because I was very hesitant of, I have a mission, I have a purpose, I know what I want to do. And so being on my own is hard. It's,
Oh, yeah.
it's hard, but you got to I have finally found a core group of people, and you listen to those people. You don't have to listen to everybody's opinion. And don't always listen to yourself. Talk to yourself like I talk to myself. Like
And it's hard because everybody's looking at it from a different lens
Yes.
than you're looking at it from. You're looking at it and you have this bigger purpose. You have this bigger. You have this idea of what you want to accomplish, and other people don't know all the ins and outs.
No, they don't.
And they don't know, what you're willing to do to get to success. And everybody's level of success or what they deem as important is different, right? Like there's some people that are workaholics. There's some people that do the bare minimum, to get by, and they want to be at the beach. So everybody's got different goals and motives. So, sometimes I think with entrepreneurs especially, people from the outside looking in will never get an entrepreneur. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Why do you want to do it? And again, why do entrepreneurs take a risk that 90% of business, 50% of businesses close in the first year, and by the third year, 65% of businesses do not make it. But yet an entrepreneur is willing to take a chance, and most of them have pivoted and done something else after that first chance. So the entrepreneur is wired differently. I've said that 100 times on this podcast, but I truly believe it. To me, it makes it makes sense. But the person who is working a 9-to-5 job and on 501 turns off their computer and their email till the next morning will never understand an entrepreneur.
Never. And I actually many times, and I'm sure people can understand this, there has been many times where I'm like, that's it, I'm going back to the 9-to-5. I can't do this. I'm like, I can't. And then I would even get my feet wet going and thinking about it. And I'd have an interview and I'm like, no,
Can't do this.
I can't do this again. I'm not diving in enough. I got to change this. I got to change that. And that's how I know I'm built different. Because I was just like, that's easy. I'm going to regret that for the rest of my life that I didn't continue on this path.
Yeah.
And you said something really great where you said, how do you define success? Like when I first left teaching, I was like, you look at businesses that have made it and all you see is the outside. You see that like glass ball, like you just see this shiny object of I want what they have. But you know what they went through behind the scenes, you don't know unless you dive in and talk to them.
Yeah, and again, then it's not always for everybody,
Yeah.
And again, I think social media is a great thing. We do a lot of work because of social media. People hire me because of social media. But on the other side is they don't understand that social media is social media. It's just that. Like when you're having a really shitty day, you're not like, let me go post a picture of myself.
Yeah.
On a great day, you're like, yeah, let's do this. So perception is not reality, especially with social media. And again, all these people driving Lambos, they don't have Lambos, but and again, they're coaches and they're doing this, but they don't really have the hustle and behind it to kind of back it up to say. And again, anybody can be, in that space, say that they can do whatever until the pedal hits the metal, and can they really come in and do the work? So it's an interesting world, and it's only getting more interesting because of AI too.
Yes.
Like when you throw that in the mix, everybody looks different than what's reality.
Yeah, and you have to have the systems. I had to come up with systems. I've never been a systems person.
Yep.
But that's why I have good mentors. It's like that's the long game. You have to play the long game with the systems.
You can't listen, if you're in it for the short term, you'll make some quick hits, but like it's gonna fade out.
Yes.
And again, if you don't have I feel like if you don't have that passion, that hustle, that grit, it's never gonna be long term because something you gotta be able to weather some storms. There's gonna be times where you're doing everything right and it's just not clicking.
Yeah.
Like everybody, again, you get into ruts. Like, we all do it. So like, even when I get into a rut, and I've been in business 16 years, when I get into a rut, like I go back to the basics. I go back to doing something that I'm very comfortable with. And then, then you work yourself out of the rut. And you got to, again, if you don't believe in yourself and you don't believe in positive energy and mindset, you can very
Oh, yeah.
easily go home every night and just be a miserable person because
Yes.
it's hard.
Yes.
It goes back to being
Yeah.
a business owner is hard. So like, I think that the more that people understand that,
Yeah.
and you're gonna, you said it earlier, pivot. You gotta
just
pivot.
You got to pivot.
You got to make moves. And again, I like the fact that your name is just all in, because no matter what you do with it, it can tie to whatever that is.
Yep. And all in changed. Like I was saying to you, in the beginning, it was 1,000 miles an hour. And then it became, like when I, had mental health issues from going 1,000 miles an hour, one of my big teachings to people is you have to be all in for yourself first and find that balance. And then now you're all in for what you love. But that also means you're all in for the person next to you that can benefit. So it's this community space that I've really pulled in. So it's funny that it's like completely shifted, that it started out because I've always been known that if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. But what has happened in my life until recently is I hit a wall. And until I became a business owner, I've realized that you have to go slow and steady, and play the long game, which is
That's great. I mean, and you've learned that quickly.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm lucky for the people around me and just relationships, and I just love people. And that's another thing. Being in education, like you're stuck in that school all day. Like,
Yeah.
There's no bigger blessing than for me to be able to just network with people and just know that maybe next week just is going to look a little different, and it's not the same thing every day.
When I left corporate America, I was like, I can't imagine doing the same work every day. Like that just sounded crazy. Now there's still some projects that like go back to like when you're working on a spreadsheet, like but then there's also the podcast. There's also, I told you, I have a foundation. So like everything just becomes different because every day is a new, unique opportunity. You wake up and you hit the ground and you're like, let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's I think that's one of the best parts about entrepreneur. And again, you meet a lot of people along the way. Not everybody is, kind of aligns with the same values as you do. So you kind of have to weed some people out along the way.
Yeah. And I think faith is a huge thing too. Like just knowing like I'm going to be all right. Like, true. Like I don't know what October looks like. I'm not real sure yet, but I'm building the systems and for whatever reason in 3 years, leaving $100,000 salary, I figured out. And I just keep growing. So and I think every entrepreneur can say that. Like if you just have to believe that it's going to grow. And that mindset shift for me to do that personally has made me so much better for my clients, for my athletes, because they want to know, well, what is this going to look like, Coach Ange? And I'm like, we don't know yet, but we're going to do this drill over and over again. And then in October, something's going to click, so it's made me just a better human being, like 100%. So
that's so great. I love to hear this positiveness and success story, and it's only going to continue to grow. That's the best
plan.
part about it. So as we wrap up today, let people know where to find you, how they can get in touch with you, if it's your socials, your web, whatever you want it to be, so that people that watch this podcast can learn more about you.
Okay. First off, like our main social is at Always All In. Our website is iamallin.org. On top of that, you can see my TED Talk, 6 mental fitness skills to be more resilient. My book, I have another book that's coming out that I'm working with a publisher on, and it's The Bench Between Us, all about the lessons you learn in life through sitting on the bench in different parts. So, basically through social media, and we're just willing to come into any schools, work with any clients one-on-one, and, just make it happen. And just
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming in. I'm inspired by your story.
Oh, thank you so much. This was
Keep doing
great.
great things. All right.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, boss.